Okay, so this is something I've wanted to get around to, but I haven't yet, and well, we're getting to it now. Now, I was originally going to do these separately because why not? But since I've held off this one for so long, I'm going to take a look at both of them. So we're going to call this the Jeepster era unboxing of Snow Patrol. So I got songs for Polar Bear, and the follow-up album, When It's All Over We Still Have to Clear Up, which I mistakenly said was clean up, not clear up. But before we get to the second one, let's talk about Snow Patrol. They're an Irish alternative group, or at least that's one of their genres, and the it mainly consisted of Gary Lightbody as the singer. But originally in '94 they formed as a band called Shrug, and that consisted of singer Gary Lightbody, drummer Michael Morrison, and bass player Mark McClellan. They played under that name for 2 years, and they even had a newspaper article, as shown in this picture. Now, it's not the whole thing, it's just the band photo, but God, to think that Gary had long hair even back then was kind of cool. There was even an old photo on Wikipedia of them when they were like really young, and it even shows Michael Morrison in the uh, picture. Unfortunately, Michael left the group after a breakdown, and so they got Johnny Quinn. Yeah, Johnny Quinn as the new drummer, and then they reformed under the name Polar Bear. There, they would make their first ever CD release. I forgot to mention that as the name Shrug, they actually released an EP called The Yogurt versus Yogurt Debate. They talked about it in the Up to Now documentary, which has mini-sodes on there, and even shows some pictures that I don't think were ever released up until Jeepster Recordings posted them onto the Insta page. But basically, it was a picture of some Chex Mix. They had the band logo and had the name of the album. I don't know if it featured... No, it didn't. It actually featured some credits in the tape, and the actual tape was just a black cassette tape with a sticker on it that had the name of the album and the band and the tracks. Sorry. But then in '97 they reformed under Polar Bear with a new drummer, Johnny Quinn, and then they released an EP called the Starfighter Pilot EP, which came out on Electric Honey, and was a 3-track EP containing containing Starfighter Pilot, Holy Cow, and Safety. Now, I do not know if that version of Starfighter Pilot is the same as the one that appeared on this album, because there was a mention of a re-recorded version, at least I think. But if it's the same one, then okay. Holy Cow was later reissued on this version, well, not this version, but an American version on Never Records. This version is pretty much similar to the original pressing, but it has the bonus tracks, and Holy Cow is one of them. Safety can be found online. However, it was never re-released. It was not part of any other compilation, and that's the only true way you can listen to it physically is if you own the Polar Bear or the Starfighter Pilot EP. But then their name of Polar Bear didn't last very long. They were threatened with legal action by another group known as Polar Bear, and they had to change their name to Snow Patrol, which I think is a better name. I'm not sure about the origin of the name, but it's just they changed it because of legal reasons. So there's that. This was not actually their first release on Snow Patrol. They had the single called Little Hyde released in February of '98, and it was the first It was the first song under their new name, and even had a phone call in the song about the legal action, which I don't know why they felt the need to put it in there, but it's okay. There was a music video for it where it's like the group playing in a busted apartment or something, and then they play out in a playground that says Little Hyde. Funny enough. That one's kind of hard to find. I do not have the singles because most of those were released in the UK. Well, with the exception of the Velocity Girl single, which by the way was the only double A-side album, or double A-side single I think the band ever released. Um, so yeah. Where was I? Oh yeah, here. This came out in August of 98, so it came out a few months after the Little Hyde single released, and here it is. I honestly did not even know how I got my hands on this. Now, this is not the original version. This is actually the 2006 reissued version. So, there's that. Got this for $4. Damn. Here's the cover art. We got a Elvis Presley figure singing in front of some polar bears, obviously, because songs for polar bear. There was actually a mock-up version of the album which showed his name on the display, but apparently there was some bad advice for some reason. They thought it was bad advice, so they didn't release that version. But they actually did in Brazil on Trauma Records, or at least I think it is, because it actually has the name on has the name or the name on the display, and even on the back cover it shows it. So yeah, they did release that with the songs for Polar Bear. There's even the stereo long player. I don't know why they put that at the top, but you could crop it out if you want. Here's the spine. It should be pretty much like the same as the original, but it doesn't have this green part. Oh yeah. Here's all the tracks. Yeah. Downhill from Here, which they actually performed live at a place in Dundee in 97, which was posted by Jeepster Recordings. That's where I got most of the photos for this video, is from Jeepster Recordings, because they have their own Insta page, and they showed some rare photos that I don't even think were ever shown, and they even had some live footage from around that time. Starfighter Pilot, that one was released as a single later. That was not in the same time span as the other ones. That came out in like June of 99. Little Hyde did not chart at all, but the follow-up, which was 100 Things You Should Have Done in Bed, was released as a single, and that was their first one to chart. At least I think that was. And then you had Velocity Girl and Absolute Gravity, which was the only double A side I think the band ever released. These titles are kind of goofy, you know? Get Balsamic Vinegar, Quick You Fool, Mahogany, Little Hyde, Makeup, Velocity Girl, Days Without, whatever the hell that is, 15 Minutes Old, Favorite Friend, and 100 Things You Should Have Done in Bed. It's definitely not a bad album in my opinion. It's actually way better than I thought it would have been. It's pretty good mixing for a first album. There's a balance between some relationships, songs about a starfighter pilot. Hell, there was even some torture songs. At least I think. I always thought 15 Minutes Old was kind of like a birth song, and then there's some mention about torture, so yeah, there's that. Here are the bonus tracks. These are all B-sides, and I think they were put in order of like when the singles came out. So the last two are actually from the Starfighter Pilot single, which actually had 2 CDs. There was the original single, and then there was the remix, but I don't really care about the remixed one. I don't. Oh, and I also forgot to mention, Johnny Quinn was not actually on the Starfighter Pilot EP. It was actually Richard Colburn from Belle and Sebastian. I don't think he joined at that time, so I should have made that correction. So overall, I think the B-sides are I don't expect them to be as good as like the actual songs, but there were definitely some decent ones. God, who comes up with that title though? Limited edition's kind of creepy, because it's just like one not recorded in a studio, and it's like, I don't know, it just sounds creepy. Here's the CD. I think original ones had like 1998 Jeepster recordings written on it. And because this is a reissue, it's got a backtrack card, which just shows Jeepster. So there's that. We'll take a look at this very small booklet. It's not very big. It's only like 6 pages. So all you'll find here is lyrics and such. Yeah. It's only a 6-page booklet, so don't expect anything impressive. About the Little Hyde single, there was actually a band photo in it from what I could find, but because it's kind of rare, here's the credits. You got Gary Lightbody, Mark McClellan, Johnny Quinn, women skiing. So you got Isabel Campbell. At least I think I said that name right. I hope I did. I could be wrong. Richard Colburn, drums. Tom Simpson, turntable. I forgot to mention that Absolute Gravity had a turntable on it, which is pretty cool. They actually used that turntable for some other live footage, especially one in '99 where the quality is like bad. You can just barely make out the members from there. Yep. Here's the final. They didn't even bother like putting the lyrics for the B-sides, which is kind of sad to think. And here's the back where it's kind of like different version. I think I tried looking up the actual Elvis Presley display and I just couldn't find it. At least I think I found it, but it was like, I think they just modified it or something. So overall, this is definitely a must pick up. If you are going to buy this one, I would recommend getting the remaster for the B-sides. It's kind of got like a balance between, as I mentioned, it's got relationship songs, some torture songs, a song about a starfighter pilot, yada yada yada. There's some heavy tracks in there, and then there's some acoustics. According to them, they listened to like Pixies and Soundgarden, but I don't know where the Soundgarden part came from. Maybe Get Balsamic Vinegar is the closest on here because of how heavy the track is. They were definitely kind of experimenting, so it's kind of like they experimented around, and I like the heavy tracks, and I think it's a really cool underrated album for something that didn't get that much traction. So that's my thoughts. Let's move on to When It's All Over, We Still Have to Clear Up. Okay, so here's When It's All Over, We Still Have to Clear Up. Now this came out 3 years later, or actually like 2.5 years later, in March of 2001. Now, before this, they actually released a single. They actually released one of the singles from this album, Ask Me How I Am. Yeah. I will say this, unlike the last album that had 4 singles that all had their own music video, this one only had 2. And I think the main reason is because by this time, Jeepster was experiencing financial troubles, and to minimize recording costs because they were getting more expensive at that time, they decided to limit the number of singles. So they only released 2, Ask Me How I Am and One Night Is Not Enough, which actually came out the same day as this album, March 5th, 2001. Unlike the last album, which had some pretty heavier tracks with a mix of acoustics as well, this one is a lot more lighter than the first. At least in my opinion. It may have some heavy tracks, but it's still a lot more lighter. Yeah. And there's only 4 B-sides because they didn't release that many singles. And there was only 1 music video, and that was for Ask Me How I Am. In fact, this release actually has the music video if you pop it in your computer or whatever device you let videos play on. There's that. But pretty much financial troubles is the reason why there were only 2 singles. Well, there was actually 3 if you count an olive grove facing the sea, and there was a music video for that one, which they had the members playing out in the sea, I believe. I didn't actually watch like the whole thing. I forgot to mention that 100 Things You Should Have Done in Bed had like a music video. It's kind of goofy. It's just the members watching a kid grow up in his room and such. And for Velocity Girl and the Absolute Gravity, there was actually 2 covers. There was one with the girl with a gun, and then there's just like two of the members laying, including Gary Lightbody. Uh, the cover art for Ask Me How I Am featured two dogs, and the One Night Is Not Enough had a picture of a polar bear and such. I will say this: Gary Lightbody's voice did improve with this album, and that's why I like Ask Me How I Am. It definitely showed his max capability, like his ability to sing and such. So here's the cover art. We got like a kid ready to take flight or something, or at least fly down and such. We got the same logo as the last album, as well as the title. This is also the 2006 reissue. Jeepster there. Spine there. Here's the back. We got some tracks. An Olive Grove Facing the Sea is an alright track. It may not be my favorite, but it's okay. There's some bonus tracks. The B-sides are kind of bad, aren't really that good. In Command of Cars is a decent one, but the later three are just like very short and forgettable. So maybe don't go for this one, but do go for it if you want the music video for Ask Me How I Am. It's basically like a video taken from a perspective of a dog, and it goes around causing mischief before a person throws a stick into the river, and then when the dog sees its owner, it gives it the stick back, and the owner has a argument with the guy who threw the stick, and then he talks about how he chased the dog all day, and then it pans out to show that it's Gary Lightbody. As well, and something I should have mentioned with the 100 Things You Should Have Done music video is that there was apparently a VHS recording of it playing on MTV. Damn. They were that big of a deal in 98? Here's the back. The picture was actually shown in the booklet, which I will show you. I don't think anyone has really seen the booklet unless they own the album. Here's the CD. Pretty similar to the last, but different. They actually had a newer version on 7-inch. Yeah, there's a great part. They had a new version on 7-inch vinyl, which was like golden, and it featured two tracks, Hollow As I Am and Then I'm Gone. It even featured like two band photos, one with them around and one on stage. So, oh yeah, here's the back. He's climbing up the mountain again. And there's the JPR 12. Here's that picture again with the same members this time. I think it's the same as like the original, but they just added some new parts to it. Because I tried finding one of the original, and yeah. It's pretty similar to the last, only there's no image in the middle. There's just more lyrics. So, yeah. There's the thing again. Alright. Okay, so that's going to be that. Overall, when it's all over, we still have to clear up, is definitely a good continuation. And definitely showed the improvements of Gary Lightbody's vocal performance. At least with Ask Me How I Am. It's kind of similar to like the first in terms of vocals, because there are times where Gary sounds like a different singer, but it's the same singer, so there's that. Now, the sad thing about these two albums is that despite their critical acclaim and how good they were, yes, there were people that actually found this good, and I don't blame them, they did not sell well. They didn't chart initially, and unfortunately, after the release of One Night Is Not Enough, from what I could gather, the band got dropped from the label, so unfortunately, they got dropped. But they did sign to Polydor and released Final Straw, which later became a hit. Also worth mentioning is that the singles on When It's All Over, We Still Have to Clear Up, are the band's first to ever go past the top 100, as the other ones couldn't make it past that. So, overall, if you are going to buy these albums, do pick up the remasters, just for the extra tracks. And this one, you can get the music video for Ask Me How I Am. Whereas the videos for the ones on here, you actually have to, at least for some of them, you have to go out and buy the singles for them. So, overall, these are definitely two good albums. Definitely worth checking out. That's all I gotta say. Have a good night.